Galactic Hegemony prided itself on its meticulous oversight of emerging species. Hidden among the stars, their elite xenologists observed, recorded, and guided civilizations along pre-approved paths of progress. Today was supposed to be no different. A hegemony analyst peers at a floating display, his elongated fingers lazily flicking through pages of reports. His gaze is disinterested, just another uneventful cycle. Narrator. Humanity had been a fascinating, if predictable, anomaly. Inducted into the galactic community 30 standard cycles ago, they had followed the expected trajectory. Mostly, xenologist Renak, a senior analyst, scrolls through decades of human data. Renak muttering, cooperative, adaptable, ambitious, but ultimately manageable, just like the dozens before them. Narrator. The hegemony had seen species rise before. Some were docile, some aggressive, but all eventually bowed to the tried and true methods of integration. Humanity had shown minor deviations, an insatiable curiosity, an odd penchant for relentless documentation, but nothing outside acceptable parameters. Until today. Narrator. The process of integrating primitive species into the galactic fold was a bureaucratic marvel. A hologram displays humanity's progress, controlled economic growth, managed technology transfers, regulated diplomatic expansion, counselor threats. The humans are adjusting well. Their infrastructure aligns with expectations. Counselor Viren. Minor cultural resistances remain, but nothing alarming. They follow the script, more or less. Narrator. That assumption was about to be shattered. Junior analyst Zior whispering. This has to be a mistake. Narrator. The Earth defense grid, once rudimentary, had evolved. In 6 minutes. Cross-check the data. Is this real? The room erupts into chaos. Automated alarms blare. A security breach. A computational error. Narrator. But the numbers didn't lie. Earth was no longer vulnerable. In a span of moments, it had become one of the most fortified planets in known space. Narrator. The chief xenologist stared in disbelief. How did they miss this? Chief xenologist Mirex, whispering, they've done it. They've outpaced us. Narrator. Humanity had not just adapted to the hegemony's technology. They had surpassed it, improved it, perfected it. Mirex replays the footage. Humans working, upgrading, executing plans with precision that should have been impossible. Narrator. And worst of all, the hegemony had no idea what they were preparing for. Narrator. The realization was slow, painful. Humanity had never been under the hegemony's control. They had simply played along, until they didn't need to anymore. Counselor Threx, softly. Were they ever truly compliant, or were they studying us this entire time? Narrator. Across the galaxy, species watched in stunned silence, some in fear, others in admiration. Humanity had rewritten the rules, and now, the game had changed forever. The air shimmered as the hegemony's envoys descended upon Earth, their vessels sleek, metallic monoliths, reflecting the golden hues of Earth's sun. The alien delegation, robed in regal silks and adorned with the insignia of countless conquered civilizations, stood tall, exuding an air of practiced dominance. They had done this before, many times. The patterns were clear. Introduce themselves, showcase their superior technology, and watch as yet another fledgling species bowed in reverence. It was almost a formality. The humans, after all, were primitive. Their history was one of infighting, self-destruction, and slow progress. But something was different this time. The human delegation arrived, dressed in dark, crisp suits, their expressions unreadable. No awe, no hesitation, just quiet observation. Eyes that saw past the grandeur, analyzing, calculating. The hegemony's speaker continued his rehearsed speech, extolling the virtues of intergalactic unity under the guiding hand of the hegemony. And yet, there was no immediate response from the human, just a long silence, broken only by a single question from their lead diplomat. What do you want from us? The first crack in the hegemony's confidence had formed. The hegemony spared no effort in demonstrating their technological superiority. Towering holograms projected dazzling visions of utopian worlds, hyper-advanced civilizations thriving under hegemony rule. Armadas of starships hovered in Earth's orbit, weapons dormant, but unmistakably present. A reminder, a warning. Most species cowered at this moment, their leaders overwhelmed by the sheer scale of power before them. But the human, they simply watched, their gazes lingering not on the spectacle, but on the small details, the composition of the hulls, the energy signatures of the shields, the strategic formations of the fleet. Hegemony envoys exchanged uneasy glances. Was humanity unimpressed? Or worse, were they studying them? Then came the diplomatic exchange. The Hegemony presented their standard treaty, the same document that had bound dozens of civilizations before. But humanity, instead of signing without question, did something unexpected. They read it, and then they analyzed it. The negotiation chamber was silent, except for the rustling of paper and the quiet murmuring of human diplomats poring over the treaty. This clause contradicts Article 7. One of them muttered, "The resource allocation terms are vague, intentional." Another inquired. Hegemony officials, accustomed to quick submissions, felt the first tinges of frustration. No species had ever been this thorough, this meticulous. The humans weren't just reading the treaty, they were dissecting it. Days turned into weeks. The treaty was amended, revised, renegotiated, and with each iteration, humanity grew more prepared, more informed. Finally, after exhaustive deliberation, the humans proposed an alternative agreement, one built on mutual respect, technological exchange, and independent sovereignty. The Hegemony rejected it immediately, and so humanity simply smiled, folded their documents, and walked away. For the first time in its history, the Hegemony had encountered a species that would not be rushed into submission. Despite the treaty's collapse, humanity did not rebel. They did not wage war. Instead, they engaged in something far more dangerous: strategic patience. They cooperated when necessary, but never surrendered control. They adhered to intergalactic trade laws, but always negotiated fiercely for better terms. Their scientists eagerly learned from Hegemony technologies, yet never fully revealed their own breakthroughs. Every interaction was a move in an unseen game, a battle waged not with weapons but with knowledge and foresight. Some within the Hegemony dismissed it as human stubbornness. Others saw it for what it truly was, a long-term strategy. And then the alarms started ringing. It began with whispers, reports of human advancements that defied logic, reverse-engineered starships that were faster, more efficient, weapons that operated on principles the Hegemony hadn't even conceptualized. And then came the most troubling revelation. Humanity wasn't just copying technology, they were improving it. Hegemony scientists scoured the data. How was this possible? The speed at which humanity was evolving was unnatural, threatening. The Hegemony had always controlled the flow of technology to lesser civilizations. It was a safeguard, ensuring their dominance. And yet humanity had leapfrogged generations of scientific development in mere decades. The final report was damning. Humans do not innovate in a linear fashion. They accelerate unpredictably. The council convened an emergency session. The chief xenologist stared at the final intelligence report, hands trembling. Humans are cooperative, but unpredictable. That was the conclusion. Yet it felt incomplete. It didn't capture the full scope of the danger, the sheer magnitude of what was unfolding. The Hegemony had underestimated them, assumed them manageable. But humanity had played along, learned the rules, and now they were rewriting them. And then the final transmission from the Sol system came through. Sensors detected an anomaly, a ripple in space-time near Earth's orbit. Hegemony analysts struggled to comprehend the readings. A new energy signature, a distortion unlike anything seen before. The chief xenologist's blood ran cold. Had humanity discovered something new, something beyond the Hegemony's understanding? Or worse, had they built something the Hegemony could not counter? As the data scrolled across the screens, one undeniable truth settled over the command center. Humanity had never been playing by the Hegemony's rules. They had simply been waiting for the right moment to show their own hand. And now the galaxy was watching. The data streams in, lines of code and statistical models running through the Hegemony's intelligence network. Every projection, every algorithm, every predictive model agrees on one impossible conclusion. Earth's military technology has surged forward at an exponential rate. Weapons platforms that should have taken centuries to refine are fully operational. Defensive structures once considered theoretical are now deployed en masse. A junior analyst stares at the report, disbelief evident in their posture. There has to be an error. No species progresses this fast. The lead scientist shakes their head. We've checked the numbers a dozen times. This isn't a glitch. Silence fills the room. No one wants to voice the growing fear pressing against their chests. The cold, undeniable truth settles in. Humanity isn't just advancing, they're preparing. Hegemony researchers scramble to deconstruct the problem. At first, they assume humanity has merely reverse-engineered stolen technology. That, at least, would be predictable. But the deeper they dig, the more unsettling the revelations become. Not only have humans understood the Hegemony's tech, They've surpassed it. Systems once considered cutting-edge are now obsolete, replaced by human-designed variants that function with greater efficiency and power. This shouldn't be possible. One scientist whispers, watching an intercepted human test simulation. We gave them scraps, not blueprint. The reality is far worse than anyone imagined. Humans are not just replicating, they are innovating. The question shifts from how did they do it, to why. Hegemony analysts comb through decades of records. Patterns emerge, subtle at first, then glaringly obvious. Humanity has been preparing for something, but what? They never moved to expand aggressively. An intelligence officer notes, they accepted our oversight, played by the rules, but now, this is calculated. This is preparation. Another whispers what they all fear. Did they know we would eventually turn on them? Eyes dart across the room. The hegemony has absorbed hundreds of civilizations into its fold, not all willingly. A chilling thought takes hold. Humanity was never under their control. An emergency council session is convened. Delegates from hundreds of species argue in a chaotic swirl of overlapping voices and accusations. Diplomacy must prevail. An ambassador insists, humanity has not made a single hostile move. We must talk. Talk. A militarist scoff. They are advancing at an unnatural rate. This is an arms race, and we're already behind. Some propose peaceful engagement, others demand containment. A few push for a more extreme response. Preemptive action before the balance of power tilts irrevocably. The illusion of control is unraveling. For the first time in galactic history, the hegemony does not dictate the term.
It starts as a rumor, a whisper in the shadows of the information networks. Then, the document surfaces classified hegemony intelligence, now public knowledge. Humanity may have cracked classified hegemony technological secrets. Not recently, not even in the last few cycles. Decades ago, panic erupts. How? When? Who gave them access? This is an unprecedented achievement, a scientist marvels. This is an act of war. A general counters. Lines are drawn. Some see humanity as an emerging superpower, a force to be reckoned with. Others see them as a threat that must be dealt with before it's too late. The great powers of the galaxy shift uneasily, awaiting the next move. The debates escalate into ultimatums. Political alliances shift. Old treaties are questioned, and through it all, humanity remains silent. No grand proclamations, no threats, no boasts. They simply watch, waiting. The final question looms, pressing down on the galaxy like a cosmic weight. What will the hegemony do next? Scene opens aboard the hegemony's flagship, hovering just outside Earth's orbit. Narration: the Galactic Hegemony had always operated under the illusion of benevolence. Their vast fleets, their diplomatic envoys, their grandiose treaties, all carefully designed instruments of control. Today, they made their final move against humanity. Hegemony diplomat, we come in peace to formalize our lasting alliance with Earth. Let this moment mark the unity of our civilizations. Behind the polished words, hidden threats linger. Surveillance probes hum beneath the surface of their ships, scanning for vulnerability. Contingency fleets hover at the system's edge, primed to strike if Earth refuses to kneel. Hegemony commander whispering to an aide, if they reject the offer, initiate protocol erasure. Scene shifts to Earth's command center. World leaders observe the hegemony fleet's arrival. Narration: the hegemony believed themselves in control. Humanity's history told a different story. The last century had been spent preparing, not for servitude but for survival. Earth's president, welcome envoys of the hegemony. We have long awaited this meeting. Despite the overwhelming presence of the alien fleet, Earth's response is measured, calm. Not a single military vessel is deployed, no weapons raised. A calculated silence settles over the room. Hegemony diplomat, whispering to aide, they should be more intimidated. What the hegemony failed to understand was that humanity had seen through their game decades ago. Manipulation, dependency, coercion, all countered before they had a chance to take root. A hegemony analyst reviewing old treaties. They never truly relied on our technology. They built redundancies. They never truly adopted our economic systems. They created hidden alternatives. The realization sets in. Humanity had been playing their own game, outmaneuvering the hegemony at every turn. Earth's ambassador, calmly, we accepted your gifts. We studied your ways, but we were never yours to control. Hegemony fleet attempts a show of force. Energy weapons charge, missiles arm, ready to issue a warning shot. Narration: This was the moment the hegemony had counted on, a final show of force, a demonstration of power. But something was wrong. Hegemony tactical officer panicked. Weapons, ineffective, shields at full, but we're getting no energy readings. On Earth, the defense grid remains dormant. Or so it seems. Earth scientists smiling faintly. Electromagnetic countermeasures, quantum disruption fields. We learned from you. Yes, but we never intended to use your weapons as you did. We built better. The hegemony's greatest strength, its military dominance, had just turned to dust. Narration: they had assumed humanity to be another vassal species, one to be guided, coerced, eventually rule. Instead, they had unwittingly allowed the rise of their greatest rival. Hegemony diplomat, voice shaking. What do you want, Earth's ambassador? Nothing you haven't already offered. True cooperation, or would you rather continue this charade? A silent exchange between the envoy, a moment of hesitation, then a quiet, reluctant nod. There were no threats, no ultimatums, only a choice. Earth's president, we propose a new path. True collaboration, a galaxy where no species is forced into submission. The alternative, an arms race you cannot win. The room falls silent. The weight of the moment is suffocating. Hegemony diplomat, you leave us no choice. Earth's ambassador, no, we give you the only choice worth making. Narration: the hegemony had two paths before them. Adapt or fade into irrelevance. Galactic Council chambers, some species watched in relief, others in fear. The balance of power had shifted forever. Hegemony's supreme chancellor in private. We underestimated them. We saw them as subjects, not equals. Now we stand on the precipice of a new era. Earth's representative, final words. The stars belong to no one. We move forward together, or not at all. As the hegemony fleet departs, the universe waits, breathless. The age of the hegemony was over. The age of humanity had begun. The hegemony had ruled with certainty for centuries. Every species they encountered had followed the same path: awe, submission, integration. Yet humanity had defied them at every turn, not with brute force, but with something far worse: understanding. They had studied the hegemony, anticipated every move, and played the game better than its creators. Now, the council chamber stood in uneasy silence. The data reports were undeniable. Humanity had not only matched their technology but had innovated beyond it. Their societal structures resisted the soft manipulations that had worked on countless other civilizations. The hegemony's influence was crumbling, and it was too late to stop it. The Supreme Chancellor exhaled slowly, acknowledging the bitter truth. Humanity was never just another species to control. The galaxy had changed forever. Dr. Virek had spent decades studying humanity, confident in his expertise. Yet standing before the latest intelligence reports, he felt something unfamiliar: regret. They had misjudged everything. Humanity wasn't unpredictable. The hegemony was simply blind. They had mistaken adaptability for instability, cooperation for manipulation. Every assumption, every strategy, had been countered before it even began. His hands trembled as he reviewed the latest findings. Humanity hadn't reacted to the hegemony's influence. They had prepared for it long before first contact. The real question haunted him. If humanity had seen this coming, what else had they planned for? Across the stars, the galaxy held its breath. Broadcasts of the diplomatic exchanges spread like wildfire. For some species there was relief. Humanity had made no demands of conquest. For others there was unease. Humanity's influence was undeniable, and it was growing. On the war-ravaged world of Zorath Prime, resistance leaders whispered of an opportunity. On the distant trading hubs of the Rim, merchants speculated on new alliance. And in the heart of the hegemony, political factions fractured, debating whether to resist or embrace this new order. The future was uncertain, but one truth was undeniable. Humanity had set the pace of progress, and the galaxy would either follow or be left behind. When humanity finally spoke, it was without arrogance or threats. No fleets hovered in orbit, no weapons primed for war. Just a simple message, broadcast across the hegemony's channels. We have never sought domination. We have never needed it. We offer a choice. We build together, or we stand apart. Decide. There was no malice, no gloating, only certainty. Humanity had already won in every way that mattered. The hegemony's choice was an illusion. They could either cooperate or fade into irrelevant. The council debated, but deep down they already knew the answer. The old ways were over. The hegemony, once the unchallenged ruler of the stars, was now just another voice among many. Galactic politics had been rewritten, not by conquest, But by inevitability, a new age had begun, not of war but of cooperation, and at its center, humanity stood not as rulers, but as pioneers, leading the way into a future no one had foreseen. The galaxy would never be the same again. Months had passed since the confrontation that changed the fate of the galaxy. The hegemony, once an unchallenged force, now found itself negotiating as equals with humanity. Joint research projects were cautiously initiated, their success hinging on a delicate balance of trust and necessity. The agreements that followed were structured to reflect fairness, something unheard of in previous galactic diplomacy. Yet beneath the surface of civility, tensions lingered. The hegemony's leaders could not shake the feeling that they had misjudged humanity on a fundamental level. The chief xenologist, the same scholar who once dismissed humanity as an unpredictable anomaly, penned his final report. It was no longer a document filled with warnings of potential chaos, but an analysis of humanity's resilience and intellect. The title alone spoke volumes. The fluid relationship between impossibility and human determination. He detailed how humanity had defied every projection, not through brute force, but through sheer adaptability and an uncanny ability to turn every disadvantage into an opportunity. As he concluded his work, a single thought haunted him. What else had they underestimated? Buried within the report was a cryptic passage, subtle yet impossible to ignore. What humanity has shown us is but a glimpse of what they are capable of. Their potential is not measured in weapons or conquest, but in something far more profound. The message sent ripples through the hegemony's intelligence networks. What were they hiding? What more did Earth have up its sleeve? The unsettling realization dawned upon them. Humanity was not just surviving, they were planning. Deep within a classified research facility on Earth, far removed from prying alien eyes, the real work continued. A project unlike any before it. An advancement that could shift the entire galactic balance once again. Scientists and engineers, their directives clear, worked tirelessly towards an outcome that few outside their ranks could even comprehend. The true scope of their ambition remained unknown. But one thing was certain. This was only the beginning. The final line of the chief xenologist's report echoed across intelligence briefings and diplomatic meetings alike. We were never playing their game. We were playing ours all along. The words left an unsettling silence in their wake. A realization that humanity had not only changed the rules, they had rewritten them. And as the galaxy pondered the implications, Earth moved forward with quiet, deliberate purpose.